Mr. President, this is lunacy. First, while the White House is insisting that no one use the word Islamic or note any connection between the war that we're facing and some subset of Islam, even as the White House insists that no one use the word, their own preferred adjective, ISIL or ISIS, begins with an I. Every fourth grader in America can deduce, without any assistance from Vanna White, what the rest of the word that begins with an I is.
Ben Sass, just moments ago on the Senate floor, talking about the administration's fight against ISIS, or ISIL. This as Defense Secretary Ash Carter up on Capitol Hill yesterday, telling lawmakers, senators, that they're getting ready to support the Iraqi army in different ways, unique capabilities, including attack helicopters and other ways. Well, today at the White House, Josh Earnest said the president hasn't decided to approve the use of attack helicopters in an operation like this. So, quote, the president's not signed off on that yet. Let's start there. Let's bring in our panel. Judge Andrew Napolitano, Fox News senior judicial analyst. Charles Lane, opinion writer for The Washington Post, and syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer. Judge, I see you shaking your head. There is this dichotomy between what is said about the fight against ISIS and what is actually being done.
Yes.
And even what's being said on Capitol Hill and what's being said at the White House.
Yes, I share Senator Sassy's frustration and concern, but I'm far more concerned about a White House that contradicts people in the field, and the Secretary of Defense and the press secretary saying different things, the president saying ISIS is contained, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff saying it's not contained, trying to shore up the Iraqi army when they know that that's not going to fight ISIS, trying to resolve this without a constitutional declaration of war, without a great national consensus about how we want to go at it. It's almost a slapdash, minimalist approach, which is deeply unsatisfying, doesn't keep anybody safe, doesn't enhance anybody's freedom, and gets nowhere.
Chuck, you are starting to see Democrats back away from the administration and how they're fighting this fight.
I think there's been some upset among Democrats, not just about the operational side of this, but also about the, if you like, the atmospherics and the rhetoric from the administration. I think some Democrats thought the president sounded a little underreactive to the San Bernardino case. They're worried about the political repercussions that could have for their party going forward. Actually, the first hint of that came on in the vote in the House, where so many Democrats defected on the issue of Syrian refugees. It's going to be, if you want to just look at it in partisan terms like that, it's going to be a very interesting year for Hillary Clinton to try and establish just the right level of contact, as opposed to distance, between herself and President Obama as this thing goes forward, and as the popularity of what he's doing ebbs and flows. But he is determined. It seems like that's his number one goal, is to make sure we don't overreact to this thing. And some people find that a little counterproductive.
Charles.
Look, I know it's an election year, but the import of this is not who's going to win next November or how it's going to affect the Clinton campaign. The import of this is that we are at war with people, with an organization, with a general, a jihadist movement, that is spreading into Libya, into Yemen, into all kinds of places, and into San Bernardino. And we have a president, as we saw on Sunday night, who is either disengaged or delusional. It's one or the other. Who simply, and we see, as the judge points out, he and his White House team, this insular group, have their ideas about what to do, which is essentially nothing, to pass it on to the next president. And he's got his own Defense Department, his own advisors in the State Department and elsewhere, who have consistently asked him to do more. He has in Syria, in Iraq, everywhere, and he has consistently refused to listen to their advice. That's why the country is in a semi-panic. That's why Trump, with the tough talk, is rising, because this is a ship about to hit an iceberg without anybody at the tiller.
Judge, what about, we had the House Armed Services Committee Chairman Mac Thornberry on talking about how he says the president broke the law when they did not alert Congress to this deal, the Taliban 5 and trading for Bo Bergdahl.
You know, I think the trade was reprehensible and the product of seriously impaired judgment. But I think the law, which would have required congressional intervention there, is unconstitutional, because the president can make any trade he wants. The president is the keeper of prisoners. As ill-advised as it was, I think he had the authority to do it.
Quickly on the recidivism issue, this guy's now the head of al-Qaeda in Arabian Peninsula in Yemen, and he was at Gitmo.
The president wants to get rid of Gitmo, and he is going to do it clearly as much as he possibly can, regardless of other considerations, because he believes, on his side of this, that it's counterproductive in the war on terrorism to hold it open.
Look, I supported the swap on the grounds that you want to get back everybody on your side. However, if the reason for it was not retrieving this guy, but so the president could get rid of the 5 worst guys at Gitmo under the guise of an exchange so that he could then fulfill a campaign promise, then I think it's appalling.